What's going on, everyone? We got to go over COAI because, as you guys can see, we're a little bit above 8% in the last 24 hours. So I'm going to talk about what I think is about to happen next here in COAI. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor, none of this is financial advice, but let's get straight into it, guys. We're up over 8% in the last 24 hours, but do not forget we are still down 86% in the last 30 days, not the last year. In the last 30 days, which is 1 month, in the last 30 days, we're down 86% in COAI. So anything that I say about COAI today is justified. You guys know I don't really care for this project, but a lot of people like it. I lost money in it. I know, I admit it. I lost some money in it. A lot of people have, right? But what I see today in COAI is a little bit different because we just now came out of a falling wedge. I don't want to make this video. I don't want to talk about it, but look, we just got out of a falling wedge here in COAI. And as you know, falling wedges are bullish patterns, right? A lot of other projects that came out of falling wedges actually started to go down even further. But COAI, out of its falling wedge, it's going sideways, okay, right? It has not pumped. It's going sideways. It's hit the 50-cent support, and it's hit it and stayed there pretty, it stayed there pretty good, right? But what I'm noticing here in COAI is this, the %R trend exhaustion. Notice how the short-term trend just kept breaking out, but the long-term trend was just staying sideways the whole time. That's because it's a pump and dump, and this is how it operates. Obviously, long-term it's going to be bearish. But now that it's bottomed out, now you see the long-term trend here on the bottom increasing. That blue line on the bottom is increasing. Now the long-term trend is right here, as the short-term trend is also turning up as well. You can see it. Actually, both of them are curving upwards. If it does something like this, right, and it does not pull back like that, then we're good if it does something like this, right? What we don't want to see is this and then a pullback. We don't want to see that. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. I think COAI pretty soon could get all the way up to 65 cents. I think COAI could reach 65 cents soon. So I'm just going to put it out there. I don't know if it will. And do not go buying it just because I said something about COAI possibly doing 65 cents. Because even if it does that, this thing's going to continue to dump. I've seen the price action with this. I know how this thing works. This thing dumps. Like, maybe the developers aren't pumping and dumping, but the coin pumps and dumps because, you know, the top 10 wallets hold all the coins, even though the top 10 wallets aren't selling, which is kind of weird. They're not the ones dumping, but it still pumps and dumps. I don't know. Maybe it's some smaller holders that are dumping. But yeah, this thing could quite possibly pump now. Only way it's not going to pump is if we see this %R trend exhaustion down here, doing some type of reversal, right? If we see a reversal here, if we see something like this and then like a pullback, or if we see something like this and then a pullback, or even if it goes up higher, then we'll see a little bit of an increase in pullback. So the 65 cent rise would look like this. If it got to 65 cents, it would stop around this area and it would probably turn down and go back down, right? So it's a possibility, but you know, we got to be real. What if the next time it does not, go as high? What if we're creating a symmetrical triangle, right, within the %R trend exhaustion? And this is why you guys follow this channel. Now let me stop. But anyways, we could actually be creating a symmetrical triangle here, guys. And I think what might happen, it might come up here to the top of it, but I cannot tell you whether or not it'll break out at the top or dump. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. There's no way of me knowing whether or not it'll break out right here or whether it'll just break down. But one thing I will say is if it breaks out, it's not going to break out for long, and the price is eventually going to dump back down below 50 cents. And if it dumps, it's going to go below 50 cents. So either way, it's going down below 50 cents. So, right. So yeah. So if we break out of it, we could see anywhere from 65 cents to 85 cents. Highly unlikely that we get to 85 cents, but it's always possible with COAI because, you know, how this thing pumps and dumps. It could do it, or 65 cents. But I'm willing to bet that it won't do 85 cents. I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. but after it pumps, it'll dump. That's pretty much the whole idea of the video. After it pumps, it's gonna dump. All right. So it may or may not pump to 65 cents soon. So you can make your own decision, decide what you want to do. But let's just be real. If you guys have been holding for this whole time in COAI and you lost a lot of money, let's say you haven't been holding and you still lost a lot of money, it's not worth it to dollar cost average and try to make back 20%. It's just not worth it, depending on how much you lost. But yeah, going up from here to 65 cents will be a 20% gain. So I don't know, 20% might be worth it for some people, but I'm not willing to risk a lot of my money, like a big portion of my money, to possibly make 20%, right? But I don't know. It might be worth it for some people, and this actually might do this. Like, it might actually go up. We're seeing everything else that I've been talking about today is pretty much increasing. We have pudgy penguins inside of a rising wedge. I mentioned how pudgy penguins is going to come up here to the top of the rising wedge because the %R trend exhaustion is now curving back upwards with the long-term trend. Hopefully the short-term trend follows it as well. But yeah, I mentioned how pudgy penguins is about to be up here at the top of its rising wedge. Might actually break down once it does that. And then we also covered advances today. Also mentioned with advances how the top of this rising wedge could break out actually, because it came into it from a bear market, and it was a whole theory that TradingView themselves created or have on their TradingView education thing. So they talk about that, and it was actually right. It actually broke out to the upside, which it usually doesn't with falling wedges or with rising wedges. But this was we're in a bear market, so it did it. All right. Anyways, this is pretty much all I got for you guys today. So yeah, hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Again, COAI, be careful with it. It's very risky, but there is a possibility that it might go up to 65 cents. It's a possibility. All right. So we'll see if it actually does that. I kind of just like to follow certain type of structures, and I don't know, trend lines just work very well for me. Like trend lines and micro and macro support and resistance lines just work good for me. And what I mean by trend lines, like something like this, you see how the trend is getting smaller and smaller, and then the next one would be smaller. These just work well for me for some reason. And then the support lines that I create myself, these I call them micro supports. They're not created by the Fibonacci retracements. The Fibonacci creates supports for you. And then I consider those macro support and resistance areas, the Fibonacci's here, all these colored areas. And then all the white lines here, I put these here myself because these are areas where I've noticed support was strong and it held right before a strong uptrend or downtrend. Like this one held right before a strong uptrend. This one held right before that strong downtrend. So that's why I do these areas here. And then all these little micro levels at the bottom, I kind of had to create these just to track daily movement. And I've been able to track it pretty well, right? Like the supports here generally will stop there. You see how when it went below it, it tried to get back above it, but got rejected at that resistance. It was because that support was so strong back there. We got the same areas here, same supports. So that's why I do all these different minor micro support resistance areas, because it really helps out a lot. So you can see time and time again, I could mark these little levels for days. But yeah, it's the perfect way to trade, in my personal opinion, because let's say it starts to rally. Well, now you know you need to jump out when it hits 65 cents, right? Even if it can go higher, I would still jump out at 65. But yeah, we're probably about to rally, guys. I'm going to get this video out there to you guys, see if it happens. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor. None of this financial advice. As always, I'll be back with another video.